Hello there, this is James and you're watching tixeeLive. Excuse me. In today's program, I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown of what has happened during the European session, okay? And more importantly, what's coming up. But anyway, remember, these little videos, before we get to that, of course, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence and know, of course, the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out the way, let's get started. So what is the deal? What is happening? Well, excuse me, swig of water. My throat got quite dry. Sorry, I was saying. So basically, what is happening at the moment is the market is obviously it's moving, but it's sort of moving quite slowly. We're not seeing the dramatic moves we've seen over the last couple of trading sessions. The reason being is that I think it's the calm before the storm. In other words, we're waiting for the big FOMC minutes, okay, which is happening later tonight. This is what I think the market is sort of holding its breath for, to see what happens. Now, the FOMC stands for the Federal Open Market Committee, okay? And the reason why it's so important to the market is that the minutes of the policy decision made 3 weeks ago, which was, as we know, to raise interest rates. And they did. They raised it by 0.5 to 1%. But James, you ask, why is it important to know the minutes? We already know what the decision was. Well, the reason why the minutes are so important to the market, and the reason why the market is waiting with this for anticipation, is that the 12 members of the FOMC, they get together and they're in charge of looking at the financial and economic situation of the US, and then they make monetary policy. So these minutes will, first of all, show the market how many people out of the 12 members voted for a rate hike, if there were some members who voted for a higher rate hike, and if some members on this committee didn't vote for any rate hike at all. As well as that, these minutes sort of gives the tone of the meeting, okay, i.e. dovish or hawkish. Now, we sort of already know they were fairly hawkish because they raised rates, but we want to see how hawkish they are. In other words, what I mean by hawkish is how aggressive they are feeling towards raising interest rates. As well as that, these minutes will give us an outlook, economic outlook, of the state of the US economy and what other further policy measures they may take in the future. And most importantly, what the market is really hoping for is that these minutes will give us hints on what will happen next. Are they going to raise rates by 0.5 again? Or are they going to be more aggressive and raise it to 0.75 or maybe by a whole basis point of 1%? So don't forget that when they raised rates 3 weeks ago, there was anticipation for it, but there was also a bit of disappointment at the same time. They only raised it by 0.5. Still, they raised interest rates to the highest level since 2020. So this is why this meeting, or these minutes of this meeting is so important, and really why the market is waiting with bated breath about it, because it is a big deal. And as you know, at the moment, the market is dominated by inflation. So, and don't forget, the US inflation is 8.3% as it stands at the moment. So this is what's going to be happening. This is why the minutes are really, really important. So yeah, the market has been moving today in the European session, but not moving so aggressively as it has been over the last couple of sessions. So yeah, all about the FOMC. Okay, that's what it is. That's why it's important. And this is why the market is holding its breath before they are announced. Now, other news, other economic data, we had US durable goods today as well. That was announced. Slightly disappointing. Came out 0.4 versus 0.6 expected. Okay, so that was one thing. US durable goods, don't forget, I've mentioned previously, but for people who are new to the industry, US durable goods registers the sort of number of long-term products have been bought, i.e. cars, things of this nature, not sort of short-term like video games, clothing, and things like that. Long-term purchases. So it mentions, like I say, if the market is growing and strong, a lot more people are going to be buying long-term products like cars. So this is why it's important. But it did come in slightly disappointing at 0.4. It was expected to come in 0.6 like it was previous month, but it didn't. But yeah, so what's happening in the market at this very moment in time? What we see in the European session. What's happening at the moment, okay, is basically the US dollar is king once again. Now, the dollar went on a massive long, very long track record of strength against the major pairs, okay? But at the end of last week, it started losing momentum. And Monday, Tuesday, the first two trading sessions, it lost momentum. But guess what? It's now come back with a vengeance. So yes, it's indeed back to being number one again. I think it also helps that obviously the market is still obviously waiting for the FOMC minutes as well. But anyway, let's have a quick look at some of the major pairs. Let's have a look at the euro first, okay, against the dollar, because don't forget the euro was on a bit of a bullish run, on the back of obviously Lagarde's comments about getting out of negative interest rates. But like I said this morning, those of you who watched my morning session today, I did say that the ECB are now sending mixed signals. Some want to be really aggressive. Some don't want to take their time raising interest rates. Some people see inflation as dangerous. Others see inflation not so dangerous. So they can't agree at the moment. So because of that, it's taken a bit of the wind out of the sail of the euro. But we can see as well that we are seeing dollar strength, and we can see that across several other pairs as well. So at the moment, I don't know if you were those who were with me this morning, there was an interesting area of interest around here, okay, and it's testing that level right now. Okay, it's testing the level around 1.06616. Can't get my teeth in today. So it is testing that area of interest. So it looks like if it does break it, and depends how the market reacts to the FOMC, we could see that sort of uptrend the euro was experiencing since the 19th, maybe slowly start coming to an end. So potentially. So that's the area we need to keep an eye on. There's going to be probably minor support as well around the 100 moving average, because the 100 moving average is still trading just below where the euro dollar is at this very moment in time. And of course, the 200 is still above the 200. So very much interest, but really euro weakness down to dollar strength, I really think. And obviously what we talked about this morning, the cable, British pound, US dollar, after yesterday's shocking PMI, it has come under pressure. It tried to bounce back to that key level we were talking about, a 125.49, couldn't break it again. And again, because of dollar strength, it's come under pressure. It's now trading under the 100 and the 50, but still above the 200. So that would be interesting there. So clearly, I think really the level for it now for us to keep an eye on is actually, done that wrong. It's round about here. So we need to keep an eye on 1.24650. That's an area of interest for me to keep an eye on there. Okay, let's have a look at one of my favorites, which of course is gold. Gold. Again, could not break that key level we've been watching for several sessions, which is $1,865.57. It's currently now getting a bit of support from the 100 moving average, but again, we're seeing dollar strength. But interesting enough about gold, and I think gold is going to be one I'm going to be keeping a really close eye on after the minutes have come out. I was reading some analysts that they think when the impact of obviously this inflation in the United States, which is, like I say, 8.3%, and we start seeing a little bit of slowdown, gold could really find its shine again. really find it shining again. But and they are sort of saying that if we can challenge this level 1,865 successfully, one analyst thinks 1,900 is back on the cards. I'm not quite sure about 1,900. We think we've got quite some hurdles to go before we even get to that. But you know, it needs to really get past that level of 1,865 and 57 cents. But again, like I say, that was that analyst's opinion of 1,900 being on the cards. Let's have a look at, again, showing dollar strength. We can see the dollar yen. Dollar is up against the yen again, because don't forget, it came under a lot of pressure with the yen, especially last week when we had the rush to safe havens, the rush to the yen, rush to the Swiss franc. Dollar is bouncing back again against that, not massively, because like I say, the market is treading water really before the FOMC, but we can see dollar strength against the Japanese yen again. And remember, the other safe haven we looked at last week, okay, was the dollar Swiss franc. Again, we saw the Swiss yuan last week. It's like it's a competition. The Swiss yuan, it was the currency or the safe haven of choice back then, but we can see now the dollar is holding its own slightly against it and stop the momentum with that downward direction it was going. Other things to watch tonight. Obviously, we got to be looking and keeping an eye on the S&P 500 because the impact of the minutes will also underline how the market will see growth or potential recession or inflation. So obviously, risky assets like the S&P 500, if it's good news and the market sees it as positive news, this could potentially be on the move as well. So I'll be watching this very carefully. For now, it's trading just above the 100-day moving average, where it's finding a bit of support, but it is still below the 200-day moving average. That's on a 1-hour chart. So those are the events really coming up. Those are things which are moving at the moment. I'm keeping an eye on. Oh, I disappeared then. Sorry about that. Okay. As for the European market, like I said, it hasn't been terribly fast moving since this morning, not compared to the last couple of days we've had. But as it stands, the FTSE minus 0.14%, DAX plus 0.03%, and the Eurostock 50 minus 0.47%. Not massive movers, not massive changes from the European session I did this morning. Okay, on other things, like I say, the big events to watch, FOMC minutes. Again, this is happening tonight and tomorrow, US GDP. And I will be doing a watch along live to that event. So please come along and join me for that. Remember, you can ask me questions anytime you want. Whenever I'm live, please feel free to do so if you have questions. I like to try and encourage open conversation. And like I say, if I know the answer, I will certainly answer it for you. If I don't, I'll find out for you and I'll share that information with you. But anyway, okay. Yeah, don't be shy. Always please feel free to interact and ask me questions. Okie doke. Okay, there's no questions at the moment then. Okay, no problem. No problem. Don't forget, tomorrow I'm back on. I'll be on again at 11 a.m. in the morning, which I believe is 8 a.m. UTC for the European session. And with that, obviously, I'll talk about the aftermath of the FOMC minutes. Then I'll be on air again about 3:15 my time, which would be 12:15 your time for the US, or 12:15 UTC time, which will be to do the watch along of the GDP, US GDP, which is be a big event. And then, of course, I'm back again this sort of time discussing the European market and what we could see for the US session. So hope to see you then. Anyway, if there is no questions, if you're watching me on Facebook and you like it, give us a follow. If you're watching me on YouTube and you like it, click subscribe, do notifications, next time I go live. If you found this little video insightful and useful, give me one of those on YouTube. It'll make me smile. Other than that, all I will say is, remember, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence. And of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. Till next time, or till tomorrow, every single one of you, trade safe.